Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by a Gen, covering chapters 66 through 70. Following his intense and crucial confrontation, Ming enters a period of vital consolidation. This segment focuses on the healing process, the integration of the knowledge and power gained from his victory, and the necessary strategic adjustments to manage his new, high-profile status. As the rumors of his immense strength spread across the South Morning, he prepares for a potential journey or event that will take him even further into the heart of the cosmic truth. Prepare for necessary recovery and calculated planning. Chapter 66. The Final Battle. Second, Mo Su, 781 steps. There was a serious expression on Yi Wang's face that was never seen before. He had his own dignity and pride. To him, there was no one who could be his opponent. The one that he wanted to compete against was himself. Yet all his pride was shaken the moment the mountain roared and shook. It was as if at that instant a strong and unimaginable presence surged from the surroundings, shaking Yi Wang's heart. He could not remain steady, but neither could he ignore it. He stared at the plate in his hands. Never in his life had he been so aware and taken so much notice of someone. This person had far surpassed Wu Sen, Chen Chong, and everyone else besides Yi Wang himself. Now, he was only 20-odd steps away from him. This sort of distance had aroused a sense of pressure and anxiety that was rarely seen and nearly non-existent within Yi Wang. Mo Su, can you qualify to be my rival? There was a cold glint within Yi Wang's eyes. Anyone who would meet that cold look would feel the pride of one not allowing anyone to surpass him. Yi Wang was prideful and aloof. Since young, he surpassed all his peers with his incredible talent and stood at the top. He was also the berserker's son within Windstream tribe. His status within the tribe could be seen by how people treated him when they saw him. He did not need to form cliques with other people, nor did he need to be enigmatic, or be surrounded by other people and revered, because no matter where he went, he would automatically destroy all those cliques. As long as he was there, he would become the brightest existence within the crowd. If he was in the area, then his brilliance would outshine even the most admired person. He was Yi Wang. He looked down on all his peers, or perhaps more accurately speaking, he did not look down on them. He was simply indifferent towards them, ignoring their existence. He was indifferent towards all his peers because he believed that no one had the right to make him notice them and become his opponent. Yet now, with Ming's appearance, for the first time in his life, Yi Wang had the feeling that he found his opponent, and the rare sight of him paying attention to something came to be. Then, let's compete against each other. Yi Wang took in a deep breath. He may have looked as if he was gradually returning to his normal state of mind, but he was unable to calm down. If he was truly calm, then he could have waited until daylight before he started moving towards the top of the mountain. This was his plan beforehand. Yet with Ming's appearance, this plan changed. This was the first time in Yi Wang's life that he changed his original plans due to someone around his age. With a swing of his sleeve, Yi Wang lifted his feet with a serious look on his face as he walked towards the 804th step. The moment his footsteps landed, his body trembled and his breathing became a bit swifter. Yet, he did not stop. He continued onwards. At that moment, Ming stood on the 781st step. His right hand was trembling. The moment his blood touched his right eye, he felt the entire mountain trembling. He felt the strange aura that came from all around Black Flame Mountain expand by leaps and bounds in this place. This was not something that the tiny Black Flame Mountain could compare. It was just a tiny bit of blood, but the aura that erupted forth far surpassed the amount when he finished covering his eyes with blood the second time in Black Flame Mountain. The black mist in the entire mountain started rolling forth violently at that instant. The moment it seemed like a wild beast roared towards the sky from the top of the mountain, and the thunderous roars echoed madly within the mountain, the mist started rolling even more furiously, causing the entire mountain to seem to be alive with excitement. Wisps of air quickly surged into Ming's body, causing him to tremble violently, and the sensation as if he was about to explode surged forward once again. Ming had once felt the force of the sensation when he previously tried the third burning of his blood, yet the force had become much stronger than before. A trickle of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. His right hand trembled, and he had no choice but to put it down. The moment he placed his hand down, the roars from within the mountain stopped, and the mist returned to its calm state. The strange aura coming from all around him also disappeared without a trace. Everything returned to a state of calmness. It was as if that scene had only been an illusion, and it had never happened. Ming panted harshly and stood on the 781st step. He looked at the summit before him, but did not sit down. He chose to close his eyes while standing instead, and used the very last step with the balanced pressure among the numbers the elder told him to begin refining his body. At that moment, an incredible uproar stirred up a wave of discussions within the field located under the foot of the mountain. Due to the seal, they did not sense the incredible sight that happened within the mountain just moments ago. They only saw the rankings on the 9 eagle statues. They saw the person called Mo Su reach the 781st step, and there was only 20-something steps left between him and Yi Wang, who was in first place. The shock they felt stemming from within their hearts, and the looks filled with disbelief and dazedness in their eyes lashed against their bodies, causing their minds to become blank. They were reduced to a state where they could only let out cries of shock. They even saw Yi Wang moving. Among the hundreds of people in the field, there were a large portion of them who did not think too much into why Yi Wang decided to continue moving up the mountain. They only thought that Yi Wang should have been moving in the first place. If they were in his place, then they would surely get up from their rest and continue moving. However, the small circle that consisted of all the prodigies from Windstream tribe ranked within the top 50 were familiar with Yi Wang. Their understanding towards Yi Wang was much better than the rest of the peoples in the field. Once they saw the number behind Yi Wang's name change, the shock they felt in their hearts was much greater than of those who were not familiar with him. Yi Wang looked at the plate. He must have looked at the place. With his personality, once he looked at the plate, he should have felt indifferent towards him, but Mo Su is just too amazing. Even Yi Wang can't remain calm because of him. He changed his rhythm. Once Yi Wang makes a decision, he won't change it easily. He must have been thinking about waiting until daylight before he started moving, but now, because of Mo Su, he changed his plans. Wu Sen's face was pale as he sat far away in a corner. He looked at Mo Su's name on the eagle statue and remained silent. He had been treating Bai Su as his main suspect earlier, but now, he felt that Mo Su might be the real person he should be suspecting. But this is just the first stage. We don't compete on our strengths in this stage, but our potential. From what I can tell, it's not as if I don't have a way to get a definite answer as to who stole my blood either. Wu Sen clenched his fists. There were also the leaders of all the other tribes on the field who were staring at the eagle statues and the ranking. They all had their own thoughts, but the only thing that was similar was how they had similar looks of cold detachment as they watched Windstream make a fool of themselves. After all, since the past, forget the top 3, there had never been any outsider who managed to make it into the top 30, much less the top 10 ranks in the test. Yet now, not only were there 2 outsiders who made it into the top 10, but by the looks of it, that person called Mo Su might very well have the ability to compete for first place. While this made them shocked, it also made them laugh within their hearts. Mo Su. Mo Su, just which tribe do you belong to? Why is it that there has never been such a person that appeared in my tribe? If you're willing to join my tribe, then no matter what price I have to pay, I'd be willing to negotiate with you. The old woman from Dark Dragon tribe lamented, but she also knew that it was impossible. The head of the guards was astounded as he stood among those from Dark Mountain tribe. He let out a huge breath, and he harbored a similar thought as the old woman from Dark Dragon tribe. Bei Ling, who stood beside him, had a hint of extreme passion within his eyes. He looked at Mo Su's name. He knew of everything that happened during the first stage of the test. The strongest person he could get in touch to was Wu Senator, yet right before his eyes, he saw a stranger manage to obtain the second place and even earn the right to compete for first place. This was something that made him extremely excited. This Mo Su is very strong. Bei Ling spoke softly. That's right. He's really amazing. I wonder which tribe he belongs to. Ah, it's a pity he's not from our tribe. There was admiration within Wu La's eyes. She admired powerful people, especially Mo Su. She saw him rise since the beginning. That sort of feeling, as if she saw the scene personally, made her addicted with it. Don't you think? This Mo Su's name is a bit familiar. Lei Chen hesitated for a moment and spoke since the first time he came back. Familiar? Lei Chen, what do you mean? Wu La was momentarily taken aback and turned to look at him. Perhaps I'm thinking too much. I just thought that the elder's name is Mo Sang, and this person's name is Mo Su. No matter how I look at it, it seems like it's the combination of the elder and Su Ming's names. Lei Chen scratched his head and there was uncertainty in his eyes. You're thinking too much. There was a hint of scorn in Wu La's eyes, and she turned her head away to ignore Lei Chen, choosing instead to look at the ranking on the eagle statues. Mo Su, why aren't you moving? Yi Wang is already at the 827th step. Bei Ling did not speak, but the faint hint of disdain in his eyes showed his thoughts towards what Lei Chen had said. Lei Chen fell silent. As the people were discussing and looking at the ranks, the air twisted and suddenly two wisps of black mist appeared and traveled to the field before turning into Chen Chong and Bai Su. They arrived almost simultaneously on the field, and they immediately glared at each other when they saw the other. When they returned, the people around them immediately cast their eyes on them. They also caught the attention of Wind Stream Tribe's Jing Nan and Mo Sang, who were located at the further end of the field. Chen Chong is pretty good, Mo Sang spoke, smiling faintly. Compared to Su Ming, he's not much. Jing Nan still looked calm, but he had been inwardly astounded since a long time ago. He may have been somewhat expecting this for some time now, but he did not expect Su Ming to surpass his expectations so much and manage to reach this point. Mo Sang, let me take care of Su Ming. Jing Nan turned his head and looked at Mo Sang as he spoke seriously. Let's continue watching. We can talk later, Mo Su smiled and said. At that moment, a cry of surprise rose abruptly. At the very instant someone shouted within the field, everyone noticed the change. Mo Su's finally moving. This is the final battle. Within the mountain shrouded by black mist, Su Ming stood on the 781st step with his eyes closed. He opened them suddenly, and a bright glint flashed briefly through his eyes. There were only 2 blood veins left on his body. Chapter 67. The Burning of Blood Once Again. Using the state of mind to move into fine control becomes much harder later. This is the limit of the 781st step. I have 2 blood veins left. The 2 blood veins seem to be stuck together. I can't make them disappear separately. Su Ming muttered softly. But this is the last number. This mountain can be said to be a holy training ground. Once I leave, it'll be very difficult to find a chance like this again. Su Ming's brows gradually creased. 32, 79, 248, 371, 563, 781. These are the 6 numbers the elder told me. This should be the secret the elder discovered during his time here. But, perhaps after the 781st step, there is another, or maybe multiple places like these. Those are the places that even the elder didn't discover. Determination gradually appeared in Su Ming's eyes. After falling into momentarily silence, Su Ming looked at the plate in his hands and at the rank he got. That rank made him so excited it seemed as if his qi was about to start circulating around his body then and there. Second, he retrieved his gaze from the plate and lowered his head. After eventually calming down, a thoughtful look appeared in his eyes. I've already attained my wish. Now, I can give up. As Su Ming mumbled, there was hesitation in his eyes. But once I give up, then the training with fine control will be stuck in this state, and I will never complete it. There must be a similar stage up there that has the same balanced pressure. Su Ming did not hesitate for long. He did not want to give up this chance. He knew that the tribe was in danger and felt the elder's worry. He had to become stronger. I cannot miss this chance. I have to find the place that the elder did not discover. The hesitation in Su Ming's eyes immediately turned into determination and resolution. He lifted his legs and abruptly moved towards the 782nd step. The moment his foot landed, Su Ming immediately trembled. A strong and great pressure fell upon his body. As he trembled, a large amount of blood veins appeared on his body with a force akin to an explosion. The light from the blood veins scattered everywhere and seemed to resonate with the dimming moon in the sky. It caused Su Ming to growl, and he gritted his teeth as he continued onwards. 783, 784, 785. When he reached the 796th step, Su Ming's hair was in a mess, and his body trembled in a manner akin to convulsing. Each step he took seemed to take all his strength. His entire body was in extreme pain, as if he was about to break under the incredible pressure. The feeling that he was about to break was completely different from the sensation of the burning of his blood. The burning of blood was a force that burst forth from within his body, as if he could no longer contain the energy. Yet now, the pressure from the mountain was a force pressing against him from outside, as if it was trying to crush his body. The blood veins were fighting against the pressure non-stop as the qi in his body circulated, supporting his body so that he would not be crushed to pieces. His resistance towards the pressure also increased due to the nourishment provided by the moonlight. With each step he took, a trickle of blood began leaking out from the corner of his mouth. His face began twisting into a furious expression, but within that viciousness was a shocking amount of resolution and determination. I have to find that spot. I have to complete fine control. Su Ming took another step and arrived at the 799th step. At this moment, his vision was beginning to become fuzzy, and he seemed to be unable to take another step. Yiwang also looked quite pathetic. He was panting harshly, and his hair was a mess. There were veins popping on his face, and his blood veins surfaced on the skin all over his body. He struggled up the 837th step when a dull pain started in his chest. The rapid beating of his heart made him feel faint. Yet the moment he looked at the plate, there was madness within his eyes. Mo Su! Yiwang lifted his head suddenly and growled towards the sky. He lifted his feet again and moved, but his speed had obviously slowed. Su Ming tried 5 times, but no matter what, he could not lift his feet. It was as if a pair of giant hands pressed against his body, causing his entire body to be in great pain. It was as if his bones were about to be crushed. He could not lift his feet. The invisible pair of giant hands were merciless and apathetic as they pressed against Su Ming, causing him to be unable to stand straight, and eventually his body started to bend. He was unable to continue standing and seemed to begin falling downwards. Su Ming's face was ashen, and sweat fell non-stop from his body. The dizziness became stronger, and a sense of powerlessness appeared in his heart. He struggled to lift his head slightly, looking at the dimming moon and the vast sky. Wherefore doth thou cry, O blue sky? Gradually, these words echoed in his head. He laughed suddenly. That bark of laughter only served to make the pain in his body stronger, but within Su Ming's eyes, the blood-red moon became even clearer, and it erupted with a blazing fire. I won't give up. Su Ming lifted his head and roared suddenly. That roar echoed, reflecting the source of why he could suddenly rise up through the ranks. As he roared, Su Ming struggled to lift up his right hand and bit into it once again. There was madness within his eyes, and once again, he wiped the blood on his left eye. The moment he spread his blood over his eye, the entire mountain moved abruptly. The mist rolled forward like furious waves and billows of air erupting forth from the entire Windstream mountain, like endless waves from all around the mountain towards Su Ming. There was also the sound of a wild beast roaring suddenly at the top of the mountain at that moment. The roar was like an illusion that echoed through the entire mountain and reached into Su Ming and Yiwang's hearts. Su Ming coughed out a mouthful of blood. Countless strange gusts of air entered his body and caused banging sounds to echo in his blood as his blood veins increased once again. He roared and gradually straightened his bent body as he resisted the pressure from the invisible pair of hands until he stood up straight. The pressure from the hands seemed to be unable to suppress the endless amount of air entering Su Ming's body and was also unable to suppress the power of the burning of his blood under the moonlight. Su Ming stood up. It was dawn. The moon, which should have been dimming away, seemed to give out its last glow at that moment. It suddenly looked clear in the sky, and as Su Ming stood up, he took a step forward abruptly and moved towards the 800th step, then took another few steps forward without stopping. 802, 805, 811, 814, 817. He stood on the 817th step with bloodshot eyes. The blood in his veins seemed to be burning. He was halfway through the third burning of his blood. He had only managed to smear half of his left eye with blood. There was an explosive force within his body that was bursting forth. His entire body seemed to be on the verge of breaking down and exploding. Ming knew that if he used external strength and forcefully commenced with the third burning of his blood, he would definitely be unable to take it. Yet within this mountain, there was a great pressure, and it aided him. With his body as the center, there was an explosive force coming from within his body, and there was an oppressive force pressing against his body, causing him to obtain a chance to complete the third burning that he had been unable to finish. Ming's right index finger trembled. He let out a roar as he did so and smeared his entire left eye with fresh blood, and the burning of blood started. The entire mountain trembled. More strange gusts of air rushed forward maddeningly and entered into Ming from every pore of his body rapidly, causing the number of blood veins on his body to increase at an incredible pace. I have to go up. Ming lifted his feet and moved forward once again. 819, 823, 827. When he reached the 839th step, blood-red mist gushed out from his body, but there was only perseverance and determination in his eyes. He did not find the balance he was looking for among all the steps he had taken so far, but Ming believed that there must definitely be such a place on the remaining steps. Mo Su. Yi Wang was also in a frenzied state. He was at the 845th step at that moment. When the plate showed that Mo Su took 839th step, how could he not be mad? As the best among his peers, his pride did not allow anyone to surpass him. His dignity insisted that no matter the cost, he had to maintain his position as the most powerful person. Veins popped out on his face and his eyes were completely bloodshot. The aloof and prideful look was no longer on his face, having turned into an expression of fury and vexation. He lifted his right hand in a struggle and roared as he hit his chest. Immediately, a large amount of power surged through his entire body. At the same time, the power traveled through all parts of his flesh and bones, a blood-red mark appearing on his chest. It was a horn, a blood-red horn that belonged to a wild beast. The horn was a picture. It was not bright red but was slightly dark in color. As Yi Wang hit his chest with his palm, the horn immediately glowed with a piercing red light and fused into Yi Wang's body. It caused his entire body to gain new strength. He lifted his legs and rushed forward. 845, 846, and he continued right until he stood on the 861st step. Yi Wang coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood. The red light from the horn picture on his chest also faded away until the color became even dimmer, as if it was about to fade away at any moment. Mo Su, you can be proud now. You are the only one who has managed to force me to activate the Mark of Calamity. The Elder forcefully drew for me with 37 drops of his blood of calamity so that I could absorb it and improve my chances of arriving at Transcendence Realm exponentially. I did not want to use this power forcefully. This has no benefit for me, and it would be much better if I just absorbed it slowly. Mo Su, you can be proud now. Yi Wang gritted his teeth and lowered his head to look at the plate as he panted. With just one glance, he widened his eyes. Impossible. The number behind Mo Su's name was increasing rapidly. 841, 843, 845, 849. Right before his eyes, Yi Wang saw the number change to 859. There were only 2 steps between them. Yi Wang had forcefully absorbed the blood of calamity, yet not only did he not widen the distance between them, they had even become this close. However, if he did not make the decision to absorb the blood, then perhaps he would have been overtaken by now. Impossible. There was disbelief and shock in Yi Wang's eyes. He mumbled and lifted his right hand once again. Within that gesture was a hint of ruthlessness and madness as he pressed his palm on the dim picture of the horn on his chest. He coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood, but a blood-red glow that reached the sky burst forth from Yi Wang's entire body. Only the faint outline of his body remained as he was encompassed by the blood-red glow. Mo Su. Chapter 68, 6th level of the blood solidification realm. The final battle within the top of the mountain commenced with both Ming and Yi Wang maddeningly letting out all their strength with force akin to an explosion. Ming activated the burning of his blood, while Yi Wang forcefully absorbed his elder's berserker blood. All this was unknown to most of the people gathered in the field under the foot of the mountain. At that moment, as the battle reached its most intense state, the mood among the people within the field also reached its peak. What an intense battle! This is what I call a true intense battle. Yi Wang managed to reach the 861st step from the 845th step, but Mo Su is also chasing close behind him. He actually managed to close up the distance between him and Yi Wang to only 2 steps once he reached the 859th step from the 20 to 30 odd steps between them just now. Just who among them will be number one? Discussions, roars, and cries of surprise stirred up continuously within the field. The people were filled with excitement and anticipation. At that moment, they had already ignored all the complicated feelings within them. There was only one thought within their minds. They wanted to know who would be the first at the end of the match. Who will be the first? This question also stirred up a storm among the circle formed by the prodigies ranked within the top 50. They were as excited as the people around them. The more they were familiar with Yi Wang and the more knowledge they had towards the terrors of the pressure among the steps in the 800s, the more excited they were. Yi Wang has managed to place first multiple times. This time, can he retain his position? This Mo Su, he's just too strong. He actually managed to push Yi Wang to this state. There are only 2 steps between them now. I thought that Yi Wang would definitely be the most powerful of us all within the region Windstream tribe rules, and no one would be able to compare to him, but now, I know that I've underestimated outsiders. Compared to these people, the leaders from all the other tribes had all stood up and were staring at the eagle statues. Their faces were not just filled with shock, but amazement and astonishment. Just which tribe does this Mo Su belong to? Who is this child? If he can truly surpass Yi Wang, then Windstream's shock will be great. No matter what rank Mo Su obtains, from here on, there won't be anyone who will not know his name. Bei Ling clenched his fists in excitement. There was a roaring sound in his heart. He wanted Mo Su to win. Wu La's face was also flushed with excitement. She had already stood up since a long time ago and was staring at the competition between the first and second places. Chen Chong too was staring at Mo Su's name with a dumbfounded expression. At that moment, if someone would have told him that before the start of the first stage, Mo Su was among the group of people that went to him and watched him laugh with his friends and walk towards Bai Ling, Chen Chong would have definitely not believed it. Bai Su clenched his fists and stared at the eagle statue. There was anger and maddening jealousy in his eyes. He still believed that Mo Su's glory should have belonged to him. That damn Mo Su stole it away from him. Located far in a corner of the field was Jing Nan. His expression was no longer blank but shocked. He was also taken aback by the sight. He looked at the name on the eagle statue and watched as Yi Wang suddenly rose up the stairs quickly. He could even tell that Yi Wang must have forcefully absorbed his berserker blood. Just where did Su Ming come from? What is his origin? How could he have so much potential? Jing Nan took in a deep breath. He could no longer hide the shock in his eyes. Mo Sang, is he truly a prince of the great Yu dynasty? Jing Nan hesitated for a moment before he asked softly. Mo Sang smiled faintly, but he did not speak. In truth, he was unable to calm down either. There was already a storm raging in his heart. At the same time within the mountain, the mist was rolling forward and the mountain was trembling. The roars traveling from the top of the mountain were becoming clearer. It was as if there was a message hidden within the roars. Su Ming trembled. There was madness on his face. His right index finger was pressed against his right eye. Half of his right eye was already smeared with blood. The difficulty of the third burning of blood exceeded Su Ming's expectations. He did not expect that he had yet to complete it even though he was here, in this place where there was a great pressure aiding him. The previous 2 burnings could not even begin to compare to this time. It was as if the third burning of blood among the 9 required times was a hurdle, an obstacle in his path. He stood at the 859th step. This was still not the place he was looking for. As he was going through the ritual of burning his blood, Su Ming felt as if his entire body had just gone up in flames. The blood in his body seemed to be experiencing some sort of change. It was as if it was changing rapidly from normal blood to fire. Su Ming had even considered giving up due to the pain in his body and the oppression from the external world. But the moment he remembered the danger that loomed over the tribe and the worry on the elder's old and wizened face, Su Ming was willing to bear through all the pain. He had to become stronger. He wanted to help the elder. He wanted to protect his own home and his tribe. He wanted to help the tribe to kill its enemies. He would use his blood and tell his enemies that no one was allowed to touch Dark Mountain tribe. Su Ming let out a roar as if letting out all his pain and suffering. While shouting, he continued sweeping his right index finger across his right eye slowly but surely, and resolutely. At that moment, no matter who it was that might want to stop Su Ming from protecting his tribe and his people, they would become his mortal enemy. His eyes felt as if there was a fire burning inside of them. Su Ming lifted his feet and walked forward with reckless steps. He moved from the 859th step to the 860th, 861st, 862nd, 863 road, right until he reached the 877th step. Blood mist gushed forth once more from his body. He reached his limit. 877. That was his limit. He could not continue any longer. Let mine blood burn. At the moment he reached his limit, Su Ming lifted his head towards the skies and roared. As the roar echoed through the skies, the moon let out the most brilliant ray of light, and without anyone seeing it, it fell from the sky and fused into Su Ming's body. The mountain underneath Su Ming's feet trembled. The mist billowed towards the skies with an intensity that had never happened before. It enveloped the entire area and seemed to be turning into a mysterious shape. It looked like a giant creature, but the shape was vague and could not be clearly seen. As the mountain was filled with tremors, the indescribable strange air erupted forth from the mountain. With Su Ming at the center, it rushed towards him at a rapid pace. The moment it entered his body, Su Ming completely dyed his right eye with the blood from his right index finger. The third burning of blood was completed. A loud boom resonated through Su Ming's body. All the blood veins in his body appeared, and the number began increasing by a large margin. As they manifested one by one, the strong presence within Su Ming's body became stronger. It was almost within an instant that the blood veins on Su Ming's body increased to 109. A thunderous roar rang within his body, and he broke through the 5th level of the blood solidification realm and reached the 6th level. The 6th level of the blood solidification realm. The blood veins were still increasing. As they manifested one by one, Su Ming lifted his feet and walked towards the 878th step with one swift moment. The instant his feet landed, the entire mountain trembled once more. The strange air continuously entered his body, and Su Ming went to the 879th step, continuing onwards. 883, 885, 889. When he reached the 899th step, the blood veins on Su Ming's body increased to 156. It was as if all the qi within his body had turned into flames. Like there was a fire within him strong enough to burn the sky and the earth. Yet within his eyes, the shadow of the blood-red moon gradually disappeared and was hidden away. It was as if after the third burning of blood, the moon in his eyes reverted inwards and no longer revealed traces outward. Only now could Su Ming be considered to have mastered a little bit of the fire berserker art. He lifted his feet and moved towards the 900th step. He stood there and looked forward. From his location, he could see the statue of a beast crouching at the top of the mountain not too far away. An indefinable feeling filled Su Ming's entire being. The statue of the beast looked like a tiger, but there was a huge pair of wings on its back. It was as if it was struggling to fly up, but was pinned down by numerous chains. He could sense an incredible grudge and a faint hint of bleakness from it. He looked at the statue and felt as if the statue was also looking at him. The man and the beast seemed to be staring at each other quietly while standing at the top of the mountain with nearly 100 steps between them. After a long time, Su Ming closed his eyes. He could sense a familiar presence from the statue of the beast. That presence belonged to the fire berserker. That was a statue of a mythical beast from fire berserker tribe. When he closed his eyes, Su Ming also found the spot he had been looking for. The 900th step was the 7th spot with the balanced pressure. He stood there. There were 156 blood veins on his body. They were quickly circulating with each heartbeat. As dawn was about to end and daylight about to arrive, Su Ming began the final refining of his body. Yi Wang's hair was a mess. His face was filled with incredible madness. He would pound against his chest without hesitation before he even walking 10 steps. The picture of the horn became fainter just as the red glow on his body became fainter. He walked forward without caring about the consequences. His pride and his dignity would not allow him to lose. 881, 882, 897, 899. Yi Wang pounded against his chest with his right hand. The picture of the horn dissipated with a loud sound. Once it completely disappeared, it turned into a final surge of energy that filled Yi Wang's entire body. It caused Yi Wang to roar and move towards the 900th step, then continue onward until he reached the 905th step. The moment he reached it, Yi Wang coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood and slowly collapsed. The plate in his hands fell out. The moment it left his body, it turned into a gust of black mist that surrounded Yi Wang and disappeared from the mountain. There was only Su Ming left on the mountain. There was dead silence on the mountain. The field was also similarly silent. When Yi Wang appeared in the field, he was unconscious. As Jing Nan watched with a dark expression, some people automatically went forward and carried Yi Wang quickly to a corner to help him recover. There was only one name that had yet to turn gray on the 9 eagle statues. Second, Mo Su, 900 steps. Everyone waited. Chapter 69. Persevere. Persevere. There were no longer any conversations in the field. At that moment, all the people within the field were breathing heavily as they watched the only name that had yet to turn gray on the 9 eagle statues. Mo Su was only 5 steps away from first place. At that moment, Yi Wang, who was placed first, gradually opened his eyes under the help of Shahai and the others. There were still some traces of red in his eyes as he stared at the ranking on the eagle statue nearby with a complicated look on his face. By his side, Shahai lowered his head, seemingly talking to Yi Wang, but Yi Wang ignored him as if he did not hear a word. He simply stared at the ranks on the eagle statue. Shahai frowned and sighed before he turned away and left. I am Yi Wang. I won't lose. But I won't do any underhanded tricks to win. Yi Wang clenched his fists. At that moment, he was no longer the prideful strongest youth, but a normal tribe member who gave it his all and arrived at the 905th step, forced to retreat due to a sustained injury. The anxiety he felt was much stronger than of anyone else's within the field. Even so, he still had his pride and dignity. Shahai's suggestion was a form of humiliation to him. Amidst the silence, the sounds of breathing among the people became even clearer. It was especially so for those who treated Mo Su as an entertainment in the beginning. At that moment, their minds were blank, and there was only disbelief and shock left. They had just witnessed a miracle. They saw a person rising up with their own eyes. They saw something so insane it reduced them to a state of awe. Never had there been a person who managed to reach the top from the last place. Never had there been a person who surpassed Wu Sen, Bai Su, and Chen Chong, much less pushed Yi Wang until he was injured, forcing him to leave Windstream Tribe competition's first stage. Because of that, as of then, the mountain belonged to one person only, Mo Su. The prodigies who entered the top 50 ranks were now in a state of dead silence. They looked at Mo Su's name on the 9 eagle statues silently with complicated expressions on their faces: admiration, jealousy, expectancy, and other emotions. The leaders from all the tribes were in the same state. There was nothing different in what they felt. Mo Su now held a very high position within their hearts. This person was bound to create a storm the moment he returned. Too many people wanted to know just who he was. How did he look like? Yet due to Su Ming's incredibly unassuming looks, it was rare that anyone would have taken note of his existence before the test. Even the man who pulled him along to meet Chen Chong was looking at the name on the eagle statue anxiously with excitement and anticipation. Only an old man with a sharp mouth and cheeks of a monkey stood in the crowd with a shocked expression. He was certain that every single time someone gave up and returned, he would be the first to see them. Yet at that moment, when everyone except Mo Su returned to the field, he discovered belatedly that among these people who came back, none of them were the young fellow he first approached. Impossible. Bei Qing muttered. He looked at Mo Su's name on the eagle statue, still finding it hard within him to believe it. Could it really be him? Mo Sang and Jing Nan did not speak to each other where they were at the corner located further away. They were quietly looking at the eagle statue. Mo Sang still had a blank expression on his face, but his heart was pounding rapidly against his chest. Jing Nan had witnessed Su Ming's entire progress. At that moment, the shock on his face could no longer be hidden. He did not expect that Su Ming, whose existence was akin to an ant earlier, who he did not think too highly of, and who he thought would be lucky to even get into the top 50, had time and again exceeded his expectations and delivered multiple surprises to him. Now, he had even reduced Jing Nan to a state of shock. Jing Nan thought about Su Ming's origins seriously. Mo Sang's words once again echoed in his head and made him more uncertain. A long time passed by, but there was no hint of impatience among the people in the field. They were all waiting. When the first rays of light appeared at the horizon and morning arrived, Su Ming opened his eyes where he stood on the 900th step. There was only one blood vein left on his body. As he opened his eyes, that blood vein disappeared. He lifted his head and looked at the top of the mountain, which was lit up by sunlight. It was a pity that it was shrouded by mist and was not clear as it had been during the night. Su Ming fell into momentary silence and looked at the plate in his hand. 905. Su Ming mumbled. Since I'm already here, I might as well compete against him. Su Ming lifted his head. His eyes were filled with determination. He took a deep breath of the refreshing air during the morning and moved his feet towards the 901st step. But it was already morning and there was no longer any moonlight. Su Ming felt the pressure falling upon him. Yet he was fortunate that the pressure had lessened greatly because it was day. He felt almost the same as he did when it was midnight. Yet even so, he was already at the 900s. He was already very near the summit. The force of the pressure here was enough to crush a person alive. One step in this place was akin to several dozens and even hundreds of steps at the lower parts of the stairs. The instant Su Ming's right foot landed, his entire body trembled. All 156 blood veins manifested on his body and surrounded him to resist against the maddening pressure coming towards him. Su Ming moved. The moment he moved, the people down in the field who had been waiting silently for a long period of time seemed to have finally found an outlet for their thoughts. The moment Su Ming moved, all their long stifled emotions were let out. 901, he's at 901. Numerous pairs of eyes were focused on the only name that was not grey on the 9 eagle statues. At that moment, they had forgotten everything, and in their eyes, in their heads, the only thing left was the one name that had yet to dim. Chen Chong trembled and took in a sharp breath. He stared at the ranking. This scene was definitely the climax of the test. It was in fact much more intense and exciting than of any other previous times the test was held. He did not want to miss even a single moment of it. Bai Su clenched his fists. The cold glare in his eyes became thicker with hints of jealousy hidden within that seemed to have turned into a strong killing intent filled with resentment. The other person who had similar killing intent was the tribe leader from Black Mountain Tribe. He stared at Mo Su's name on the eagle statue with such a cold expression it was like ice that would never melt. 902. The moment the number behind Mo Su's name turned into 902, all the hearts of the people watching in the field jumped. It was as if with each step Su Ming took, he was not just stepping on the stairs on the mountain, but he was also stomping on all the hearts of the people gathered down below. This was a rare sight. This alone meant that right then, Su Ming was regarded with great importance by the people. It was clear that each and every one of his actions could stir up their emotions. In the past, this was Yi Wang's glory and pride alone. Yet now, Yi Wang had turned into a bystander. He sat at a distance not too far away as he watched the changes in the number of steps Su Ming took, his heart lurching with each step taken. This sort of feeling was foreign to him, and it was an emotion that was carved deep into his bones. 903. He's at 903. There are only 2 steps left before he ties with Yi Wang. With 3 steps, he'll surpass Yi Wang and place first. Can he become first? The pupils of the old woman from Dark Dragon tribe shrank as her breathing became rapid. Bai Ling, who was by her side, was no longer daydreaming, but had her head lifted as she looked at Mo Su's name. Her brows were slightly crinkled. Xianxia was still sitting quietly at the place where Dark Mountain tribe was gathered. He may still be sitting, but there was a strange glint within his narrowed eyes. Bei Ling was in a state of excitement. With his current status within Dark Mountain tribe, he would not have revealed such an expression so easily and had to make sure that he was always aloof, but at that moment, he could no longer suppress his excitement. He had even envisioned himself as Mo Su. That sort of thrill he felt as Mo Su surpassed the prodigy of Windstream tribe was so thrilling it made him clench his fists. Wu La was even more excited than he was. Her face was completely red as she stood there with her heart pounding rapidly against her chest. She wanted to just jump up and tell Mo Su to walk faster. Lei Chen had already given up on wondering whether Mo Su was Su Ming. There were just too many uncertainties to it. 903. Mo Su is at 903. Wu La was, after all, still just a girl. At that moment, she was pointing at the name on the eagle statue excitedly. There was a flash of exhilaration in her eyes. There was even a strange emotion hidden faintly under that layer of excitement. An even stronger commotion stirred up within the field. While buzzing sounds echoed around, Yi Wang sat there with his legs crossed. His eyes were once again bloodshot. He clenched his fist tightly. It was difficult to use words to express the array of emotions within his heart at that moment. He was once the best among all. He once stood at the top and held all the attention and anticipation from the people in the field. Yet now, he had become one of the bystanders. That sort of change was difficult for him to accept. Even the cries of surprise and shock were like a knife stabbing and twisting into his chest, causing him great pain. Su Ming stood at the 903rd step. He may have been standing straight, but his body was trembling as if he was about to fall at any moment. Despite it being daytime, the pressure in the 900s was still unimaginably great. He only took 3 steps forward, but Su Ming felt as if he had reached his limit. There was pain traveling through his entire body, and it was no longer pain that could be resisted by using the blood veins as a shield. There were moaning sounds echoing around his ears, and those sounds came from his bones, telling that they could no longer bear with the pressure. As he stood there, Su Ming panted harshly. His heart pounded as if it was about to break, and each heartbeat turned into a sharp pain that turned his face pale. There were only 2 more steps till 905. There was no way he could rest here. Due to the presence of the pressure, even if he were to rest, it would be hard for him to circulate the qi in his body. Su Ming trembled. He lifted his right foot and placed it on the 904th step. The moment his foot landed, a thunderous roar arose from his entire body. Su Ming coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood and his body seemed to fall, but he bore with it until he stood straight, then he moved his left foot towards the 904th step. His entire body felt weak. It was as if the entire mountain was pressing against his body. His vision swirled. Chapter 70. Care to walk in circles with me? 904. The moment Su Ming landed on the 904th step, all the hearts of the people gathered in the field jolted at the same time. A complicated look settled on Jing Nan's face. He looked at Mo Su's name on the eagle statue silently. By his side, Mo Sang also kept quiet. At a further corner, Yi Wang's heart was pounding. He wanted to continue sitting, but his body had instinctively stood up as he stared intently at Mo Su's name on the eagle statue. He did not spare his attention to anything else. In fact, no one had paid attention to him when he stood up. At that moment, everyone's gazes were on the eagle statues and Mo Su's name. Anxiety, restraint, and silence formed a strange sort of force that covered the entire field like a layer of pressure that turned the place into what could only be called the true quiet. They were waiting for Su Ming to move one more step until he reached the 905th step. Yet even after a long while, the number behind Mo Su did not change. However, all the people continued waiting. No one spoke, neither did anyone discuss among themselves. Even the sounds of their breathing had weakened. After a while, the number behind Mo Su suddenly changed. The number turned from 904 to 905. The moment the change happened, the entire field erupted in an explosion of sound that shook the surroundings. 905. He tied with Yi Wang. Mo Su! Mo Su! Mo Su! Yi Wang was pale. It was as if there was a great force that knocked into him, causing him to stagger backwards 2 steps. His eyes gradually became blank, and there was a wan smile on his lips. At the same time, the moment Su Ming arrived at the 905th step, his face also turned into a similar shade of white as Yi Wang's. He wanted to take another step forward, but he did not have the strength to do so. He turned around and looked at the mist-covered summit. Su Ming panted harshly, but his eyes were bright. He may not have arrived at the top of the mountain, but at that moment, there was no doubt that he stood at the top. Gradually, Su Ming lifted his head and looked at the sky, which seemed to be within reach, and raised his right hand slowly. He could not touch it. Yet as he closed his eyes, he had the impression that he had closed the distance between himself and the sky. Among all those living on the land, who will be able to see the end of the horizon? Su Ming mumbled. He opened his eyes and no longer looked at the sky. Instead, he cast his gaze into the distance towards the horizon, the point that seemed like the end of the sky. He saw the land in the distance through the mist. There was only an indistinct vast mass of ground beyond. He did not know what that place was. He did not even know whether there was another tribe there. That place was so far away. After a long while, the smile on Su Ming's face became wider. He seemed to have forgotten his fatigue as he took in a deep breath of the refreshing air in the mountain. I don't know whether I can reach Transcendence Realm. I don't know whether I can fly in the sky with my own strength like a bird. But now, I'm standing here. I can fly here. There was wind blowing at the moment, lifting up Su Ming's long hair and blowing away the sweat on his body. Su Ming brought out the plate and threw it down towards the foot of the mountain. The plate quickly fell and turned into a gust of black mist, rushing towards Su Ming as if it was going to surround him and bring him away from the mountain. The moment the black mist arrived, Su Ming jumped towards the vast land before him. It was a crazy move. Su Ming's body was entirely suspended in air like he was standing in mid-air. It was as if he was flying in the sky with his own power. Flying may not seem hard, but in truth, it was a right only reserved for the berserkers who had reached the Transcendence Realm. Those who had not transcended could not hope to do so. Su Ming wanted to become stronger. He longed to transcend, he yearned to fly in the sky, even if this sort of flying was only for a short moment. Yet as long as he did it without any help, and did it entirely on his own, then it was fine. The moment he jumped and his feet left the top of the mountain, Su Ming stood in mid-air. The wind bellowed as it came from an unknown direction and made his hair even messier, as if the heavens themselves were angered. The moment he jumped, there was the sound of roaring waves in Su Ming's head. Yet it was not chaotic but clear, as if time became much slower. Su Ming could clearly feel that he was flying. He saw the sky, the earth. He saw the incredibly tall Windstream Mountain. He saw the mythical creature from the Fire Berserker tribe on the summit. The beast seemed to be looking at him. Besides all these, Su Ming also saw the field on the land that was sealed outside the mountain. He saw all the people gathered on the field. When the black mist came forth and enveloped his body, it turned into a long black misted arc that sped out of the mountain at an extremely fast pace. When the space in the air twisted, it rushed out of the sealed Windstream Mountain. When Mo Su's name turned grey on the 9 eagle statues on the field and the space in the air twisted, a gust of black mist whistled by and landed on the center of the field. At that moment, all the gazes from the people in the field gathered towards the spot. Wu Sen had already stood up a long time ago and stared at the black mist that appeared. He watched as the black mist scattered away and revealed the faint outline of a person within it. Chen Chong was also staring intently at the shape of the person as he gradually became clearer in the mist. He wanted to know just who Mo Su was. Bai Su was doing the same thing. The killing intent in his eyes was incredibly thick. He did not even bother trying to hide it. He clenched his fists as he stared at the figure in the mist. They were not the only ones doing so. At that moment, everyone in the field was doing the same thing. The hundreds of people from different tribes, who had been paying attention to the event for the past 2 days, were filled with respect as they all looked at the person who was slowly walking out from the mist. Besides the bystanders, the ones who paid even more attention towards Mo Su were the people who took part in the first test together with Mo Su. No matter what rank they obtained, they were all holding their breaths while looking at him. The old woman from Dark Dragon Tribe was watching the figure of the person in the mist with bright eyes. She wanted to know how that person looked like and which tribe he belonged to. Sai Kong also looked over anxiously. Bai Ling was affected by the serious atmosphere brought by Mo Su's return and could not help herself but to look over. Bai Ling, Wu La, Lei Chen, the head of the guards, Shan Hen, and the other people from the other tribes were also staring at the rapidly dissipating mist. Yi Wang took in a deep breath, which seemed to somewhat quell the complicated feelings in his heart. He stared at the person who walked out of the mist. All the people's eyes were focused upon one person. As the mist scattered away and Su Ming walked out, a countless number of gazes were trained on him. When the mist was completely gone and his face was clearly revealed to all the eyes in the field, the entire field fell into dead silence. He had a normal face and wore a normal shirt made of beast skin. He did not have Wu Sen's sullen attitude, Chen Chong's charisma, which allowed him to be surrounded and revered by people, nor did he have Bai Su's mysteriousness, and he most certainly did not have Yi Wang's prideful aloofness. If he stood in a crowd, it would be difficult for anyone to take note of him. That was how normal he was. Yet now, everyone knew that this person might have been normal before the test, but after the test, he was a definitely extraordinary presence. He was just like the sun, and he shocked the world even though he was previously unassuming. When Chen Chong saw Su Ming, he was stunned. He did not think he would be such a normal-looking person. He looked so normal it was difficult for anyone to remember him, but somewhere on his mind, he had a vague recollection that this person had been among the crowd of people who surrounded him before the test. Yet at that time, he hadn't cared about that person. Chen Chong had completely ignored him. Bai Su also saw Su Ming. He remembered nothing about him. Even if he had seen Su Ming before, he had immediately ignored him. Thus, upon seeing him, he was also stunned. When Wu Sen's gaze fell upon Su Ming, his pupils shrank. His instincts were screaming at him that there was a high chance that this was the person who had stolen his blood of corpses. But Wu Sen's face became bitter. He did not dare ask for it. This Mo Su was just as prodigious as Yi Wang. From now on, his name would travel to all parts of the region. Praise gradually appeared in the eyes of the old woman from Dark Dragon Tribe when she saw the average-looking Su Ming. The first impression was very important to decide whether a person would like or hate another. It was just like how she had looked down on Su Ming, and now approved of Mo Su. It was a wonder what would be her level of shock and conflict in her heart when she learned that both people were actually one and the same. Sai Kong's heart pounded against his chest. There was admiration in his eyes. He admired the strong, and it was especially so for this person before him. He was at the same level as Yi Wang. Bai Ling stared at Mo Su with a dumbfounded expression. She was shaking slightly. She saw Mo Su's eyes. Those eyes were somehow familiar to her. But she did not know that those pair of eyes had appeared just 2 days ago and were looking at her. Bai Ling, Wu La, Lei Chen, and all the other people from Dark Mountain Tribe looked at Su Ming as he walked over one step at a time. The entire area was still silent. At that moment, Su Ming's heart pounded hard against his chest. He might have seemed calm on the outside, but he was extremely nervous. He had never been the center of attention of so many people before. After all, he was still just a child. As Su Ming moved forward, the crowd started opening a path for him. It was as if there was a piercing glow that could burn other people on the average-looking Su Ming, causing them to have no choice but to retreat. He might not have Wu Sen's sullenness, but his face, normal as it seemed, brought in people the feeling of serenity and terror akin to the calm before a storm. He might not have Chen Chong's charisma that allowed him to be surrounded by other people like the moon with the stars, but on his average body, it seemed as if there was a resolution that could knock aside all the stars and the moon. He did not need to be surrounded by people. He might not have Yi Wang's prideful aloofness, but he had earned the right for even Yi Wang, prideful as he may be, to have to look at him. It's him. There was a man among the crowd who retreated to open up a path with an awestruck face. He was the one who had pulled Su Ming along to find Chen Chong. He hadn't expected that the person he had dragged with him was Mo Su. Standing further in the distance was an old man with a sharp mouth and cheeks of a monkey. He also widened his eyes. He might have had some guesses earlier, but when he saw it with his own eyes, he was still in a state of disbelief. Before the first stage of the test, there were three people who were the center of attention in the field: Chen Chong, Bai Ling, and Yi Wang. These three people were like centers of attention that attracted a lot of gazes upon themselves. Yet now, there was only one center of attention in the field: Mo Su. As Su Ming was walking forward, a voice traveled out from within the silent crowd. That voice belonged to Yi Wang. Su Ming stopped. He turned around and looked at Yi Wang standing not far into the distance. This was the first time they had contact, equal contact. It was completely different from the first time Su Ming had looked at him from among the crowd. Mo Su, let's compete again during the second stage. Yi Wang spoke slowly. There was persistence on his face. Even if the match ended with a tie, and they were both placed first, his pride did not allow him to accept that result. He wanted to compete again, even if it was for the second time, or the third. I won't enter the second stage of the test. Su Ming fell silent for a while before he spoke calmly. He respected Yi Wang as his opponent. Once he finished speaking, Su Ming turned away and his gaze fell upon Mo Sang sitting in the distance. He saw a smile on the elder's face and saw within his eyes the message that told him not to reveal his identity. Su Ming turned away. This time, he looked at Dark Dragon Tribe and at Bai Ling, who was standing beside the old woman. He smiled faintly and walked towards Bai Ling with the anxiety stemmed from being the center of attention ever since he came back. Care to walk in circles with me tomorrow night? When Su Ming walked towards her, he ignored the dumbstruck old woman and the excited Sai Kong, and looked into Bai Ling's eyes, winking as he whispered to her. Bai Ling was stunned. She did not know what to say, but the moment she heard the three words walk in circles, saw Su Ming wink at her, and remembered those familiar eyes, she trembled slightly, a soft blush coloring her cheeks. She nodded her head. Chapters 66 through 70 conclude with Su Ming fully prepared to face the next stage of his journey. The consequences of his recent battles are managed, and he stands ready to make a major move that will shake the foundation of the South Morning. Thank you for listening to this strategic segment of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. What new realm or territory do you think Su Ming will venture into next? Let us know in the comments. Join us next time for the next episode, as the saga breaks new ground. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic tale.